Pass all 5 levels, your vision is perfect. All you have to do is pick one out of the 10 colors that is different from the rest. Starting off easy, you can clearly see that number 7 is lighter than the rest of them. 97% of people pass this stage, but it's about to get way harder. Okay, let's move on to medium. This one is a little more difficult and will require a little more attention. The correct answer is 2. Level advanced is even harder. Only 30% of people make it past this stage, so really focus.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook. Anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel, watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Amazing things you have never seen before. This is a maned wolf. It's one of the rarest animals in the world, and it's pretty terrifying. This is Vanta Black. It's the darkest material in the world and can make 3D objects look like 2D ones. This is one of the rarest and most terrifying parasites in the world. This evil parasite steals the fish's tongue and then takes its place. I never knew these existed. This is a brick road laying machine. If you look closely, you'll realize that this isn't 4 different pictures. This is one single picture. This is insane. This airport has a road going through it. And this is actually more colors than you've ever seen in your life. This is exactly 1 million colors.
How? That last one, cat.
If you have one of these in your home, then you need to know this new chilling theory. TikTokers have claimed ththese new viral furry Laboos carry demonic energy, rumoured to be inspired by the demon Pazuzu. But Hot Mart insists they're based on a children's book. Labubu owners have now taken to blessing their dolls with holy water to banish any evil the new toys may hold. This truck driver...
I've been seeing those little boo-boo dolls. They've been going viral recently. Any of the seekers got them? Any of those claims are true?
Took the life of 5 people because he was distracted on TikTok. On the morning of January 12, 2023, 36-year-old Downey was driving on Interstate 10 in Arizona when he drove his tractor trailer into stopped traffic. This scene is so difficult to look at, but basically his truck sandwiched 2 other cars with another big truck at the front. These are the 5 victims that lost their lives on that day, and when Downey was asked what happened, he said that he looked down for a couple of seconds because he got a notification on his work tablet, and when he looked back up, there was not enough time to brake. But that wasn't true. When his phone was analyzed, it showed that he was actively using TikTok when the crash happened. Now, what I found disturbing was that during his interaction with police, he didn't seem too fazed. He was eventually charged with manslaughter and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for each count of negligent homicide, which totaled to 22.5 years.
Don't use your phone when you're driving, man. Especially TikTok. You're just scrolling.
3 incredible historic photos that 99% of people don't know about. Number 3. A boy fell into a zoo enclosure and a gorilla took care of him. This snapshot was taken in 1996 and featured Binti Jua, an 8-year-old western lowland female gorilla. Although gorillas are generally regarded as dangerous creatures, when a 3-year-old boy fell into her enclosure, Binti Jua took care of the child. Astonishingly, the child had managed to climb and fall 23 feet into the gorilla's habitat. Number 2. Stray dogs protected and nourished this abandoned baby. I like to believe that the 3 street dogs in this photo appear to be smiling at the camera. This snapshot, taken in 1996, shows a newborn girl who had been abandoned in a trash bin near Kolkata, India. These 3 friendly dogs came across the baby and took care of her for about 2 days. The 4-legged friends even tried to feed the newborn. Number 1. A Native American Olympian has his shoes stolen just before his race. In the photo, we see Native American athlete Jim Thorpe in 1912. Someone had just stolen his running shoes right before his Olympic track and field events. Instead of letting this unfair play deter him, he rummaged through trash bins and found a pair of mismatched shoes, which we see in the photo. This did not prevent him from winning 2 Olympic gold medals on the same day.
1 in a Million, Part 7. On the right is the facial reconstruction of a 9,000-year-old skeleton that was found in a cave in Cheddar, England. His DNA was tested, and researchers found that a living relative was teaching history class only a half-mile away from the site, linking back 300 generations. Out of the 40,000 windows within the Twin Towers, only one of them survived 9/11. It's believed to have come from the 82nd floor of the South Tower, one of the 9 floors that was struck by the second plane. The first person to die during the construction of the Hoover Dam was surveyor J.G. Tierney on December 20th, 1922. On the same exact day, 14 years later, the last person died. It was J.G.'s son, Patrick Tierney. Uncombable hair syndrome is an extremely rare condition that literally makes the hair impossible to comb. It currently affects less than 100 people across the globe. A married couple from China discovered that they were in the same photograph as teenagers more than a decade before they even met. On July 4th, 1826, President John Adams' last words before dying were, "Thomas Jefferson survives." But little did he know, President Jefferson had died just hours earlier that same exact day. Not to mention it was exactly 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was passed.
That was eerie.
Horses are much bigger than people, so naturally they just have a lot more blood than we do. So whenever horses get nosebleeds, it ends up looking like a whole crime scene. So one of the only reasons we know how many people died in the Titanic are the shoes that are laying on the ocean floor. Some are pretty cool, others are kind of depressing. And the reason we count the shoes instead of, bones is because when the Titanic hit the floor, all the corpses kind of just scattered and the fish ate the corpses, but the fish couldn't eat the shoes. If you ever decide to go climb Mount Everest, I hope that you remember that the crevices in the ice are V-shaped, which means if you were to ever accidentally fall down one, you more than likely wouldn't die instantly. Your body heat would melt the ice around you, causing you to slip further and further down until your chest couldn't expand enough to breathe. So make sure you bring a friend just as crazy as you to help get you out.
I ain't never going to Mount Everest. Cross that off the list.
Car when a brick came flying towards her. In 2012, 29-year-old Olga Gajkovic was riding in the passenger seat with her family.
They were driving down a road in Russia just like any other day. Their car had a dash cam, not knowing what it was about to capture. In the video, a semi-truck passes by the family's car when a brick is seen flying in the air going towards Olga. The brick smashes the window and hits Olga in the head. Everyone in the car is screaming while Olga has been knocked out by that brick. Olga was rushed to the hospital but later died from her injuries. This is your reminder to be safe on the road and always be observant.
Who threw that brick?
Is your school spying on you? I'd put money down and say that your school gave you a laptop to use for your studies. If so, open up Google Chrome on your computer and type in Chrome://policy. This is going to allow you to see what your admin, aka your school, has allowed on the device. If you open it up and there's nothing there, that is a good sign. But if some policies actually pop up, you're going to want to click these link out buttons to see what the policies actually mean. When you click on that, if there's anything related to video capture allowed or screen record allowed, your school is watching everything you do. I'd recommend covering that webcam up.
I never even thought about that before. When, schools being nice, I remember when they was handing out all these laptops for the kids to use. They have another freaking purpose, man. That's crazy, man. Those backdoor systems they can put on the laptops.
The World's Most Dangerous Conspiracy Theories, Season 2. This picture represents conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these theories say that once you learn the truth, there's no return. For this series, we're going to be picking a couple from each category until we reach Tier 10, the point of no return. Alright, Season 2, welcome to Tier 1. Today we're going to be talking about Ouija boards. A Ouija board is a board printed with numbers, letters, and symbols in hopes of communicating with the dead. The history of the Ouija board is just as mysterious as the game itself. A woman named Helen Peters claimed to be a very strong psychic and actually invented the board herself. Eventually, Helen Peters' brother-in-law named Elijah wanted to get these things patented so that he could sell these everywhere. Helen Peters and Elijah traveled everywhere trying to get this patent, but the offices said they couldn't release a patent unless they had proof of it working. But consequently, nobody in these offices wanted to even get close to the board for unknown reasons. Until one day they traveled to Washington, D.C., and the chief of patent walked in the room and said, "You don't know me and I don't know you." Then he said, "If this board can tell me my name, I will sign the patent for you right now." The board apparently spelled the man's name. He walked out of the office office looked at Helen Peters and said, "You got your patent." Years later, Helen Peters and Elijah had a falling out, and Helen said she no longer wanted anything to do with this board. Elijah, on the other hand, continued selling these boards until one day he fell off of a 3-story building. He actually survived the fall, and some bystanders saw his body laying in the road. They picked him up, put him in the car, and they hit a bump in the road, and his broken rib pierced through his heart. After that, the family sold the rights to the board, and all the way up until Helen Peters' death, her last words is, "Do not play the Ouija board, it lies." And now you can buy a Ouija board from any store, and they're marketed to children. So the question remains, are these boards just a hoax, or was Helen Peters trying to warn us of something much darker? Make sure to like and follow for tier 2.
Here's some horror movie fates that are even worse than being sewn into a human centipede. Because just when you thought you've seen it all, I'm here to bring you the worst of the worst. I don't really see a lot of people talking about this, but there's one scene in this movie that still haunts me, and it's been years since I saw it. Wrong Turn from 2021 is about a group of friends who go hiking in the Appalachian Mountains. And there they encounter a cult called the Foundation, and this cult has a very unique justice system. And the scene that I'm talking about is how this cult chooses to punish people who commit crimes such as trespassing or even lying. One of the characters in this movie is sentenced to darkness, which is a punishment that is worse than death. And basically what that means is that their eyes and ears are burned out with a hot poker and their tongue is ripped out of their mouths. These people are then kept alive and thrown into a dark cave where they live the rest of their lives in silence and darkness. You literally see all of this happen in the movie, so that definitely traumatized me a little bit. But if you're into body horror, this movie will definitely give it to you. This is the 7th movie in the Wrong Turn franchise, but you don't really need to watch the other movies to watch this, it'll still make sense. A part of me kind of wishes that it was a standalone movie and had nothing to do with the rest of the lore, but overall I did like it. Let me know if you've seen any movies that you think are even more disturbing than the human centipede, and follow for more horror and movie content every single day.
In Spain, they say if you hear a sack dragging after midnight, it's already too late. El hombre del saco, also known as the sack man, is known as an old man who carries a sack around and kidnaps children. He is ugly, skinny, and eats the children he kidnaps. But don't worry, this only happens to children who misbehave. In 1910 in Spain, some believed that drinking the blood of a child and taking their body fat and putting it onto another person's body would cure tuberculosis. There was a man named Francisco Ortega, and he had just been diagnosed with tuberculosis, and he was desperate to find a cure. He went to see a healer named Augustina Rodriguez, and she sent him to a man named Francisco Leona, who was a barber and a healer. The man told him he could cure him for 3,000 reales, which would be equivalent to $13,000 today. Francisco then went to Augustina's son, Julio, and told him that in order to find a cure, they needed to find a child. On June 27th of 1910, Francisco used chloroform on 7-year-old Bernardo Gonzalez Barra and placed him in a sack. He was then taken out of the sack and stabbed. Francisco then mixed Bernardo's blood with sugar and drank it. Bernardo was alive for all of this, and eventually he was taken to a place called Las Posicas, and his skull was smashed with a rock. Bernardo's body fat was then removed so they could use it on Francisco's body. Once they were done, they hid Bernardo's body in a crevice with herbs and stones. Once Julio found out that he wasn't going to be paid for any of this, he went to the authorities and told them that he found the body of a small child while he went bird chasing. Once authorities arrived, they took Francisco Leona, the healer, into custody. During trial, all 3 men got in trouble and received death sentences. Since then, many have been afraid of encountering El hombre del saco.
This is a test to see if you have healthy eyes. If you pass all 5 levels, your vision is perfect. All you have to do is pick one out of the 10 colors that is different from the rest. Starting off easy, you can clearly see that number 7 is lighter than the rest of them. 97% of people pass this stage, but it's about to get way harder. Okay, let's move on to medium. This one is a little more difficult and will require a little more attention. The correct answer is 2. Level advanced is even harder. Only 30% of people make it past this stage, so really focus and you'll see that the correct answer is 4. Superhuman. This level is really going to test your vision, and I know these look identical, but if you look closely, number 4 is slightly different. And the final level, impossible. 92% of people failed this level, and the answer is 10. Were you right? Comment below.
I think you kind of got it.
3 paranormal and mysterious stories that will give you goosebumps. Number 3. In the 19th century, in the town of Amherst in Nova Scotia, a chilling and terrifying tale took root. Esther Cox, an ordinary-looking young woman, claimed to be tormented day and night by poltergeists. The spirits that haunted her moved objects, slammed doors, and scratched her. Despite thorough investigations and numerous accounts of this chilling haunting, the enigma was never solved. The mystery remains obscure, weaving a web of intrigue through the decades. Number 2. In 1809, an autumn chill takes hold of Europe. Benjamin Bathurst, a renowned British diplomat, is en route to England after a vital mission in Austria. On the way back, Benjamin takes a stop at an inn, where he mysteriously disappears. Despite intense searches, there is no trace of him. No one in the inn saw him leave his room. His shoes and belongings are still there, but there's no trace of Benjamin. To this day, his fate remains shrouded in mystery. Number 1. The legend of Ben Sublet, a tormented miner, who allegedly discovered an evil gold vein of immense value that could fill the coffers of several kingdoms. However, the location of this mine remains an oppressive mystery. Skeptics question the existence of this colossal wealth, supposedly hidden in the gloomy Guadalupe Mountains of Texas. Is Sublet's insidious treasure, a specter of gold and desolation, still waiting in the dark depths, ready to bewitch the intrepid who tries to unearth it?
This is the disturbing moment this woman laughed in court after she took this 3-year-old's life in a random attack. On June 3rd, police received numerous phone calls about a stabbing at a grocery store parking lot in Ohio. At around 3 p.m. on this day, 38-year-old Margot Wood was loading groceries into her car while her 3-year-old son Julian sat in his car seat. That's when 32-year-old Bianca Ellis entered the car and began stabbing the little boy. When Margot noticed, she tried to stop the attacker, and as a result, she was also wounded. Julian was then rushed to the hospital where he unfortunately passed away. Now, what's disturbing was that this was a random attack, and after looking at surveillance footage, the attacker was seen following the mother and the child in and out of the grocery store. Then, when Bianca was brought into court, the judge began reading out the indictment, and she was seen smiling and laughing the entire time. And after an assessment was done on Bianca, they're arguing that she has bipolar disorder and had a psychotic break, which explains why she did what she did. And this story only gets crazier. Before this incident, Bianca confessed to another murder in Bakersfield, and she even gave details of what she did with this person's body. She also warned officers that if she wasn't arrested, she was going to murder someone and eat their flesh. But none of this was taken too serious, and she was released from the mental institution, and not long after, she committed this heinous crime.
She literally said what she was gonna do and they still let her go.
This is the world's smallest dog. Her name is Pearl, and she's a 2-year-old Chihuahua that lives in Central Florida. Pearl stands at 3.59 inches tall and weighs 1.2 pounds. She's shorter than a popsicle stick and around the same length as a $1 bill, and she can fit in the palm of your hand. Pearl was recently awarded the Guinness World Record for being the smallest and shortest dog in the world. She's a descendant of the previous world record holder, Miracle Millie, who is 3.8 inches tall, which is just 0.2 inches taller than Pearl. Pearl's owner describes her as a calm dog who likes to go for walks and play with her toys. She also said that Pearl loves the attraction she gets for being so tiny.
Wow, what the hell? World's tiniest dog. She's a descendant from the previous world's tiniest dog. That makes sense. That tracks.
Y'all, this is some crazy FB news, y'all. So this little girl right here had this baby, right? Tell me why this little girl right here had been being SA'd by her biological father since she was 9 years old and had shared 3 children with this man. Now, the reason that this all popped off is because the 2-year-old was like 6 pounds. So CPS got involved and found out the 2-year-old was being malnourished. And they got involved, and then they did some tests, and they realized that all 3 of the children belonged to her and the biological father. Now she's currently 21 years old, and allegedly everybody in the family knew about this. The grandma knew, the grandpa knew, everybody knew. This is some sweet home Alabama BS, because I don't understand how nobody told what was going on to anybody, to CPS. The 9-year-old tried advocating for herself and telling CPS what was going on, but they did not listen to her, nor did they believe her. Now, they did a DNA ancestral test and said that the 16-year-old and 38-year-old were related. That was her biological father. She is currently 21 years old. And it says at the time they were living at the same residence. And it also says that the doctor is taking care of the 1-year-old. And that's when they realized that the 1-year-old had features that resembled ancestral DNA, was like related, like they were related to one another. This is a picture of one of the children with the biological grandpa, who's also the biological father. This is another picture of the son with the grandma. Now, she knew, I think this is the grandpa and the grandma, but they knew what was going on and they did not help their granddaughter. And this is the entire post, pause to read, of the daughter stating what happened to her and her being ready to speak out about her situation because she felt like nobody believed her. And at this point, she's saying that everybody who did believe her passed away. And I believe that was the grandma, the grandpa, but they still didn't do nothing to help her. This is some crazy stuff. But this is her now, and this is the biological grandpa and dad now. He's still free and alive. And she's saying that, yeah, I honestly feel like he should be unalive because why would you do this to your own daughter?
World's a dark place, man. That doesn't even make sense.
Karla Faye Tucker was sentenced to death for murdering 2 people with a pickaxe. And for years, that was the end of her story. Until something happened. Karla Faye Tucker was born again. While she was in prison, she became a devout Christian. She renounced violence. She became a model inmate. She even married a minister. So Karla Faye Tucker made the transition from a child being sold to men by her mother to a cold-blooded killer to a born-again Christian. And that was inspiring to a lot of people.
I was forgiven, and I experienced that forgiveness. It freed me up inside to soar.
Soon her case didn't really become about her very ugly crime. It was about redemption. Karla's dramatic religious transformation garnered her a lot of support within the Christian community, including televangelist Pat Robertson, and he usually championed tough-on-crime policies, but even he fought for clemency for her. The argument made by Karla Faye Tucker's supporters was this: the Karla Faye Tucker who committed these crimes no longer exists, so does she still deserve to die for it? It's definitely a thinker. It poses questions about justice, mercy. Is the goal of a prison sentence to punish or to rehabilitate? But here's the kicker. The problem with mercy in the legal system is that it's rarely about fairness. The question also needs to be asked about why Karla received the international sympathy she did, when many others on death row never did. Like, is it genuinely because she was rehabilitated, or was it because she was a soft-spoken, pretty white woman who fit the mold of someone worthy of mercy? On the other side, the families of Karla Faye Tucker's victims had their own questions. Like, why did Karla deserve mercy when she didn't have any for Jerry Dean or Deborah Thornton? By 1998, Karla Faye Tucker had been on death row for 14 years and had exhausted all of her appeals, meaning the only thing that could save her from being executed was being pardoned by the governor of Texas, who at the time was George W. Bush. He said no. He said she was found guilty by a jury of her peers, and it's their job to enforce the laws. So Karla Faye Tucker was executed by lethal injection on February 3rd, 1998. To this day, Karla Faye Tucker's case still haunts the death penalty debate. And it forces us to ask what justice is actually for. Would Karla Faye Tucker's life be better served helping other people in prison, or did she deserve to have her life ended because she brutally ended 2 other people's lives?
This bug lives on your face.
Come again?
Demodex mites dig face first inside your pores. But don't freak out, they're harmless. They just eat your grease and dead skin on your face. But there is one thing you should be worried about. Don't cry, but they do wake up in the middle of the night to mate on your face. Yeah, now you know.
Whoa.
But they're harmless. And they live on all of you. Live with it. Like if you want a part 2 of things you don't know that live on your body.
They're on my face right now, bro. What the hell?
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. You have to have life insurance policy for 2 years before they'll pay out for a suicide. Brain-eating amoeba exist, and you can contract it from swimming in lakes or tainted tap water. They live in the US and UK. Female dragonflies fake their own death to prevent rape. Before modern medicine, there was this illness called mercy. Basically, if you had it, you were puking your own feces and you were sure to die in great pain. It is caused by obstruction in intestines. Most people trapped in the Titanic, as it went under, did not die of drowning. Rather, they were killed by water blasting into the ship's hull at great speed. At those pressures, the water would cut and crush you before it even had the chance to enter your body. Death by strangulation can turn teeth pink. The stress on the pulp chambers causes it to hemorrhage, so the blood colors the inside. Comment on this video and let me know which fact is the most disturbing.
A bunch of teeth turning pink. I did not know that was even possible, man.
Humans actually came from Mars.
Okay, recently the NASA rover Perseverance found organic matter suggesting that life existed on this planet 3.5 billion years ago. Also, the redness of Mars is believed to be a nuclear winter, which is a phenomenon caused by nuclear weapons being used on a planet. Well, there's a theory that human life actually started on Mars. And the reason that we are now on Earth is because we drained all of Mars's natural resources and had no choice at all but to come to Earth. However, if you look at the current situation on Earth, it probably won't be long until Earth turns into Mars.
What do you guys think, man? I thought the whole point, you know, like Elon Musk isn't like he always trying to, you know, reinvent ways to go to Mars. They said some nuclear stuff had already happened, so that kind of has me wondering, man. We shouldn't be, I guess, trying to migrate to other planets, bro. Just need to stay here on Earth. What do you guys think, man? You was on Mars first? Alright.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Sometimes you laugh, talk, and cry in sleep. It's often a spirit sitting beside you in bed. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York than to be bitten by a shark. A human head remains conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. If you search up this number on Google, you'll find people with their heads in fridges. Gelatin is made out of bones. That's right.
What?
The melted marshmallow in your hot chocolate is melted animal bone. It's good stuff. You have no way of really knowing if everyone experiences reality and consciousness the same way you do. If a panda finds a fresh carcass, they'll eat it. And last but not least, your phone is likely spying on you right now as you're watching this. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for part 8.
Is gelatin really made out of bones, man? We're going to have to check that out. I kind of believe that one. Or they said marshmallows made out of animal bones too. What the hell we putting in our system, Seekers? You never know what you're eating nowadays.
Know these facts? The Boeing factory is so large they had to install a one-of-a-kind air circulation system to stop clouds from forming inside of the building.
Whoa.
This is the world's smallest drawbridge in Bermuda. The US Navy is known to have used Xbox controllers to control the periscopes on submarines. James Cameron was homeless when he wrote The Terminator. He sold the rights for $1 on the condition that he was the one to direct the movie. A race was held in 1888 between a pigeon and a bee for 3 miles, where the bee won by 25 seconds. Camels have 3 eyelids that helps protect their eyes from the blowing sand. Cherries are dried with helicopters. It would take you 18 months to walk the Great Wall of China. The USA speaks more than 350 different languages. Scientists are out there making arguments that we may have more than 5 senses, one of them being magnetoreception, which is the ability to sense magnetic fields, and the other is chronoception, which is the ability to sense time passing.
Here are some everyday life hacks you need to know. Have you ever had a tight ring get stuck on your finger? Well, all you have to do is grab some string and tuck it underneath the ring, and use that same string and keep wrapping it around your finger. Then all you have to do is grab the other side and start pulling, and it will magically remove the ring. Now, who else hates when you have tape on your paper and you end up just ripping it? Well, in order to not do that, all you have to do is grab the tape on both sides and pull really hard, which then causes the tape to be removed very easy and your paper still intact. Now, if your house key ever breaks in your lock, get yourself a hot glue stick and then place it inside of the lock. Wait for it to dry a little bit and then pull it right out.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 82. Weighing nearly 90 pounds, the costume used for the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz was made of real lion skin and fur, as well as human hair mixed in. The South Fork of the Chicago River was given the nickname Bubbly Creek. It would bubble methane and hydrogen sulfide gas, which was due to meatpackers dumping blood and entrails into the water.
There are some things you were definitely never meant to see.
Creepy.
Or no. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, let's start here. What the heck? This is an image captured from inside of a house in America. Now it appears to be a gigantic eagle-type bird thing. But when did they get that big? Like, no, that ain't no eagle. That's Lucifer's pet bird. World doomed. Next, I bet you didn't know that elephants can actually hear out of their feet. And what you're saying is those abnormally large ears are not the only place an elephant can hear. Nature! You got it! Bees can actually live inside of your eye. And to make the nightmare worse, this has happened before to a Taiwanese woman in 2019. When a doctor found not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 bees living inside of her eye, feeding off her tears. Come horror
People like, man, if y'all never even heard of that before, man, a bee living in somebody's eyes, but not 1, 2, 3, 4 bees, and they were living off of her tears. That's mind blowing, man. I wouldn't even think something like that is possible. I'm definitely gonna have to freaking check up on that story. So those crabs just came out of nowhere? What the hell? And that Red Sea. Are those signs, man?
The most unnerving facial reconstructions of John and Jane Does. You can first look at the Salem County John Doe. These remains were found in 1979, I believe, in the New Jersey area under a pile of logs and grass. Kind of freaks me out about some of the classic facial reconstructions like this is that the teeth are original, or the same teeth from the skull that this was reconstructed over. Reconstruction is only named in the records that I found as Becca, her story being that she was discovered in Albuquerque in 1991 while hanging in a motel bathroom. But these are another type of reconstruction that I do not like, solely because all of what's depicted here in the illustration is of the actual remains, just they've drawn the eyes open. 1991, Harris County, Jane Doe. December 15th, 1991, when she was found in Houston, Texas, allegedly stuffed into the bottom of a cardboard box. It's a different style of reconstruction, where it is an actual photograph of the body, it's just that the eyes have been photoshopped to be open. If cases of the unsolved or similar stories to this are of interest to you, we do have additional information on the show.
This is some uncanny valley vibes. Those last meals, man.
Back in March, dismembered body parts were found scattered across Long Island, and the victims were eventually identified as 59-year-old Donna Connolly and her partner, 53-year-old Malcolm Craig Brown. Long after, Stephen Brown, Jeffrey Mackey, Amanda Wallace, and Alexis Nieves were arrested in connection to their deaths and charged with first-degree hindering prosecution, tampering with evidence, and concealment of a human corpse. They were all released on bail in mid-March with GPS monitors. But then in May, Jeffrey Mackey and Alexis Nieves were charged with murder. The Suffolk County DA said that the victims had participated in the planning of a gas station robbery back in February, and they allegedly planned it while Mackey and Nieves executed it. This ended up leading to a dispute between Malcolm and Donna and the 4 suspects, and that dispute ultimately led to their death. It is believed that Nieves and Mackey murdered Donna and Malcolm, while Wallace and Brown helped to dismember and dispose of the bodies. Mackey and Nieves have pleaded not guilty and are maintaining their innocence. But now, both Amanda Wallace and Stephen Brown, who is Malcolm's cousin, have pleaded guilty. This week, Amanda Wallace pleaded guilty to 5 felony charges and named Mackey and Nieves as the perpetrators. And then on Thursday, Brown pleaded guilty to 6 felony charges, admitting to participating in a plot to kill the victims and conceal their deaths. Both Wallace and Brown maintain that they did not commit the actual murders. And it is being said that they are both cooperating with authorities. They have yet to be sentenced, but because they are cooperating and have agreed to a plea deal, their sentence will be reduced than if they pled not guilty. Meanwhile, Mackey and Nieves have been charged with murder and are maintaining their innocence.
Really weird fun facts that you might find pretty damn interesting.
So who's telling
Number
what?
1, banging your head against a wall for an hour burns 150 calories. Number 2, approximately 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year. Number 3, there's a higher chance of you being elected president of the United States than winning the lottery. Number 4, an average of 100 people choke to death on ballpoint pens each year. Number 5, it is harder to be an employee at Walmart than a student at Harvard, because Walmart has a lower acceptance rate. Number 6, human birth control pills work on gorillas. Number 7, there are 2 million millionaires in the United States. I am not one of them. And number 8, like fingerprints, every tongue print is different from person to person.
Wow, what the hell? We have tongue patterns? What do you know, man? The hell? 2 million
Fun
millionaires?
facts about the human body, PT.2. If someone is sleeping and you blow on their eyes won't react. But if they're awake, they will flutter a bit. That's how you check if someone is really sleeping. If you drink nothing but purple Powerade for 3 days straight, your poop will turn neon green. Your sense of balance is strongly linked to your eyes, and you may notice it's harder to keep your balance with them closed even if you're standing still. Women are actually programmed to forget the pain of childbirth after a few months or so. If this didn't happen, most women would only end up having one child, which would eventually lower the population.
That makes sense.
Wholesome facts that'll make your day slightly better, part 1. When a human sees a puppy, a chemical called dopamine is released in the brain. Elephants also release dopamine when they see people, meaning that they think we're cute in the same way we think puppies are cute. There's a YouTube channel called Dad, How Do I that teaches young people things that would typically be taught by a father figure. From how to change a tire to how to tie a tie, fans of the channel think it's super helpful. When you're on a walk with your dog and they stop to take a dump, you may notice that your fluffy friend is staring at you as they poop. They do this because they're in a defenseless position and they're trusting you to keep them safe. There are more public libraries in the US than McDonald's. After the horrific events of 9/11, a small Kenyan tribe known as the Maasai people gave 14 cows to the US in their support. The man who played Mickey Mouse ended up marrying the woman who played Minnie Mouse, meaning that true love actually exists.
That's true love right there, man. Who would have thought, bro?
Most of the comments are worrying about that little guy, but he's fine. The snake's in trouble though. Meet the mongoose. They only get up to about 10 pounds. But let me tell you, that is the most ruthless 10 pounds in the world. It's like a hyper-aggressive, condensed version of John Wick that's a fully carnivorous hunter. And they are literally designed to fight snakes. Specifically venomous snakes. Like they prefer venomous snakes. King cobras, regular cobras, rattlesnakes, vipers, it's on sight. Fear? Never heard of her, but basically the reaction speed is faster than a cat, so they can avoid all of the snake's bites. And once it gets close enough, it'll bite the head of the snake, crushing the skull. But the crazy thing is, even if they do take a bite, it's not that big of a deal. They have a protein in their body that binds to the protein in snake venom and digests it, like food. So usually a venomous snake bite will just knock them out for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then it's on to round 2. And as always, follow for more facts.
Disturbing facts.
Damn, mongooses, bro. They have black Air Force energy. They try to run the feed with those venomous snakes. The venom don't even do nothing to them, man. We're learning that, ass seekers.
Disney that will leave you shocked. 18-year-old actress who voiced Snow White was paid less than $1,000 to do it. She also was not credited. Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland used real skulls in its set design when it first opened. Actress who played Lilo in Lilo and Stitch also played Samara in The Ring. Part of your world was almost cut from The Little Mermaid because the chair of Walt Disney Studios was afraid that kids would think that the song was boring. Don from Beauty and the Beast in the 1995 version was the first male villain in any Disney princess movie. After Finding Nemo came out, there was a problem with kids around the world flushing their fish down the toilet so that they could go back to the ocean.
What?
The music on the Into Small World ride never, ever turns off. Follow for more facts.
That's Snow White actress, man. That's so messed up that Disney did that.
Police have arrested a Chucky doll for threatening members of the public with a knife. This month, police in Mexico arrested a doll. Terrifyingly, they had been made aware of a Chucky doll who, along with its owner, were threatening the public in Monclova. If you're not already aware, the doll comes from the 1988 film Child's Play. In the movie, the serial killer turns into the doll, which then begins a terrifying crime spree. The owner of the doll has only been identified as Carlos N. He was reportedly scaring the public with the doll, threatening them with a knife and demanding money off them. Both Carlos and the doll were charged with disturbing the peace and putting others' integrity at risk. The doll was handcuffed and taken to the police station. They both had mugshots taken, and there has been some controversy over whether or not the officers were taking their job seriously. The police officer who put cuffs onto the Chucky doll has been reprimanded.
I was about to say that too. I'm like, why are you arresting a doll? Like come on, man. Yeah, they have to take their
Some
job way
unusual
more
activity
seriously.
took place at an ATM in Arkansas when the machine dispensed a kitten instead of money. The bank's security guard was making his usual rounds when he noticed a faint meow and realized it was coming from inside the ATM. It was unclear if this animal was just seeking shade or trying to pull off some clever ATM heist, but either way, the security guard figured that the cat should be removed as soon as possible and called the fire department right away. Firefighters arrived on scene, and with a little bit of work, they successfully made a cat withdrawal. Thankfully, while he was a bit grumpy from the ordeal and required some nourishment, the kitten was overall healthy. He was named Cash and taken to the Fort Smith Animal Haven, where a veterinarian placed him on a care plan to recuperate and gain some weight. He was scared at first, but he settled in quickly, and as his personality came out, it became clear that Cash was actually a super friendly and cuddly little guy. After some socialization in a foster setting, Cash was adopted by a local doctor, and he's now living a much more comfortable life away from any banks or ATMs. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
16-year-old Ali.
How did the cat get into the ATM in the first place? I know cats are flexible, but getting in that little small, just holding the ATM, he's living up to his name, Cash.
Lower vanished off her school bus and she has never been seen since. This footage is from her high school the day of. It is April 26th, 2010. Well, this footage would mark the last time she was ever actually seen. She ended up getting off her bus stop right on this very street that you see behind me. And this was bus at 2:56 p.m. And she had already texted her mom that she was going to be walking from their home to her job, which is only about 10 or so minutes away. But at 2:57, just a minute after she got off the bus, she sent a text to her friend. Then her phone mysteriously turned off, and nobody has seen her since. Years into this case, there has only ever been one witness who came forward who said they might have seen a girl who fit her description talking to somebody in a white.
Hard to hear, but that's why.
Disappeared off the earth, man.
Now, supposedly during a big storm on the beach, a giant monster came out. Some people say it was special effects, while others say that it was a giant monster named Cthulhu. Scientists say big creatures like this can't exist on land because their bones wouldn't be able to support their body. But in the ocean, it's possible. All I know is I'm moving to Mars. Let me know in the comments below if you think this is real or fake. Was it really a monster, or are they covering up saying it was effects? And like this video if you want more giant creatures caught on tape.
Is that effects or is that real, bro? Cthulhu?
Scariest bird sounds.
Seen some videos on
Not
that.
that with these scary bird sounds again.
Red-collared starling.
Oh, what does that sound like? I thought it was a cat. Oh god, it sounds
That's
like I'm on the
a baby.
airplane. Okay, right, we've gathered this one. Is that real? Peacock, you don't want to pick him off. Wait, that sounds like that alarm, doesn't it? Like the bloody, I don't know what it's called.
Shoe bill.
It does.
We know what the shoe bill sounds like. Call of Duty. Look. Are these extinct or are they still alive? Because I'd love to see one in person. Look.
What the?
Cassowary.
Oh, this is the deep throat one, isn't it? Apparently these are very dangerous, you know. Everyone was saying that they're quite scary to be near.
White bellbird.
A white bellbird?
Hmm?
It doesn't even sound real, does it?
It does it.
It sounds like a spaceship coming to get me is what it sounds like. Oh!
This is some dark stuff going on around the world that the public definitely doesn't know about. Up first, humanity has wiped out 60% of the animal population since 1970. Just think about that for a second. 60% of all animal population has been wiped out. This is absolutely crazy, and we use all of these resources for food and clothes and just stuff like that. But when you hear that we killed 60% of the animal population, it kind of makes you think, right? Next up, we all know the mega city that Saudi Arabia is building called Neom. But did you know Saudi Arabia is sentencing people to death who refuse to move out of their homes so they could actually build the mega city Neom? And their relatives are being sentenced to multiple decades of prison time just for protesting and posting their support to the cause on social media. This is absolutely sickening, and I can't believe nobody is talking about this. This next one is going to keep us all up at night. But bacterial resistance to antibiotics is at an alarming level. There has already been instances of pan-antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria. This can throw us back to the pre-antibiotic era, which will effectively mean if you catch an infection, you will die. Just like in the 1400s. Finally, women are going missing from Indian reservations across some of the United States. Many are young women and are probably being used for sex trafficking. I wonder why they're taking Indian women from Indian reservations. And I wonder why sick stuff happens like this on Earth every single day.
Someone said I should go and watch Chimp Crazy, and I like to think a bungee jump off the Brooklyn Bridge would have been lesser to my blood pressure. If you want the spark notes, it's basically Tiger King but with chimps, but somehow even worse than that. I thought it was common knowledge that chimps are rage-aholic chainsaws with thumbs, free will, and no morality to tie them down. It's a whole part-time predator with the Punisher skill set and cannibalistic tendencies. I do not get how in the decade of 2020, people still think it's a good idea to invite this reality check of the animal kingdom into your living room. You've probably heard the horror stories of people that tried playing house with a chimp and then found out, but here's a story you might not have heard. Once upon a time, there was a place called Chimp Party. Well, actually, it was renamed the Missouri Primate Foundation, but that sounds way too professional for what was going on there, so Chimp Party. And what it was basically a puppy mill but for chimps in Festus, Missouri. As bad as you think it is, probably worse. Basically breeding chimps to sell as exotic pets or rent for TV or commercials or whatever. Anyway, one day the chimps got out. Actually, it happened more than once, but this time in 2001, they escaped and ended up pressing a nearby family. A family that included 18-year-old Jason Coates. The chimps were throwing rocks, they chased him into a car, it was fully chimped out. Now, you know Jason a real one, because stuff didn't get serious until they started throwing his dog around. He was not letting that slide. So the story goes, Jason ran out the car, got into the house, and came back with the mouse tool. He tried scaring them, but when one of the chimps, Susie, charged him, he sent her the dog backwards. But here's where it gets wicked. Not only did Jason get arrested and charged with chimp murder, not only was he put in jail with grown men for refusing to be chimp bait, not only did he miss the birth of his first child because he was in there, he would be registered as a felon because of it until only a couple years ago. I love animals, I really do, but if a chimp's coming at me with malicious intent, well actually any intent, and I got that pole on me, either the chimp's getting it or I'm self-medicating with a bullet. For 20 years he was a convicted felon for the crime of not letting a chimp peel him like a banana. And we know that would have happened because Susie had a son named Travis. Yeah, the same Travis that literally defaced a woman. That's a literal travesty. Yeah, moral of the story, chimping ain't easy.
Before Death, Part 1. This may seem like an innocent selfie of a kid with his mom. Unfortunately, that's far from the truth. You see, the two were on board Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. Hours after the photo was uploaded to Facebook, the plane would be shot down above Ukrainian airspace, killing everyone on board. This claustrophobic-inducing photo is of John Edward Jones. In 2009, John was exploring the Nutty Putty cave system when he unfortunately got stuck in an upside-down position. It was pretty much impossible to get him out from that position, so he ended up suffering a very slow death.
Hey, small spaces.
I'm half crazy. Disturbing facts you wish you could unhear. Part 6. Scientists are warning us about an upcoming solar storm that has the potential to shut down the internet for months or even years. If this happens, the global economy will crash almost instantly and millions will lose their jobs. The last time the Yellowstone volcano erupted was 640,000 years ago, and it erupts roughly every 600,000 years. That means that we're 40,000 years overdue for an eruption. And what's worse is that there's nothing we could do to prevent it. Kayla Posey, who you may recognize from this GIF, went to her prom last year and unalived herself. It's estimated that there's around 2,000 active serial killers in the US alone.
Question that has long
crazy,
been
man.
Is what do we make of the McGrady tapes? So back in like 2001, at a Blockbuster in McGrady, North Carolina, a car drove by in the parking lot and just dropped a tape outside of the building. So employees saw that and they went outside to get the tape and they were like, who would drop a tape off like that? Until they looked at it and they noticed something was wrong. This was the tape that was recovered from the parking lot and it was completely unlabeled. According to the story, they took it to the back room where they were able to play it back, and this was the footage they found. It is a 40-minute video of a person's face looking under what looks like a bathroom stall, and it's completely silent. Like straight, uncut 40 minutes of this, and the cameraman just breathing heavily while they videotape this. Management turns the tape over to police, and the strangest part is that a search canine signaled that the tape had traces of human decomp on it. To this day, whoever's behind the McGrady tape is a mystery.
The hell? Like, that's a true freaking mystery, man. And that was around on Blockbuster, bro. I'm about to say, you didn't guys know it's very rare now to even see a Blockbuster. So that happened a while ago. I wonder if they eventually cracked the case. We'll have to maybe go down that rabbit hole and see what they found out. Ooh.
It took me 20 years to realize this about Snow White. So we all know the tale of Snow White and the 7 dwarves. But didn't you ever realize something odd about this? So after Snow White bites into the poisonous apple from the witch, she falls into a deep sleep, from which she can supposedly only be awakened by loving kiss. Well, at least we all believed that that was the case. Until now. In this scene, we can see the prince waking up Snow White. But what if I told you Snow White never came back to life? Wait for it, because this is crazy. In the original movie, we are presented with the words, "So beautiful, even in death, the dwarfs could not find it in their hearts to bury her." The prince that supposedly kissed her awake was never actually a prince, but her guardian angel which accompanies her to heaven. I mean, we can see her prince taking her to this castle, which looks very much like heaven. Snow White was never woken up by the kiss. He brought her to heaven because she died. My childhood is ruined.
What do you guys think on that theory, man? I mean, the imagery was lining up, that glowing castle in the clouds. And they said even in death, they couldn't find the inner cells to bury her. So some things are lining up, man. Like I said, these medias we be watching as a kid, it'd be right there. But we're so young, our minds can't even comprehend the messages behind them. What do you guys think? Is that a true theory? Where's this guy? We know, man. We can spot out the edits now.
Darkest conspiracy theories. The Earth virus theory. This theory states that the Earth is a living organism, and we, you and I, the humans, are the virus. The Earth grows plenty of free food, and every animal seems to balance and coexist on Earth in sort of a circle of life. For instance, bees pollinate crops, moving from one plant to the next, fertilizing each plant. It's beneficial. Even though they're taking pollen, they're still being beneficial. But humans, we seem to not benefit the Earth at all. We're more destructive. We clear rainforests, kill the ocean with our plastics, puncture giant holes in the ozone with our chemicals and fuels, and we cause man-made climate disasters. We don't seem to coexist. But before I continue, question time. If aliens were about to destroy the planet, and one came up to you, they chose you, and said, if you show us 2 things on Earth of why we shouldn't destroy this planet and kill you all, what 2 things would you show them to save the Earth? Let me know down below. But anyways, think about the human body. When we're sick, our body creates antibodies to kill off the viruses. That's exactly what the Earth does to us, creating earthquakes, droughts, tsunamis, and other natural disasters. Let's face it, we're destructive in nature. And while a tiny bit of us do try to help the planet, the majority of us selfishly harm it. Maybe we are the virus.
You're not gonna believe what this woman caught on her camera. Now it's scary because was this girl actually being kidnapped? But what's scary is that this is a common thing that criminals will do. You have one person playing the victim, screaming for help. You run out to go help them, and instead, they kidnap you. It's scary because you don't know if she actually needed help. Stay safe out there, folks.
Damn, people are faking getting kidnapped? What the hell is the world coming to,
This
man?
woman was pretending to be a 14-year-old so that way she could sleep with teen boys. Her name is Alyssa Zinger, and in actuality, she's 23 years old, nearly a decade older than what she was claiming to be. In real life, Alyssa would work as a grocery clerk, but when she was on apps such as TikTok or Snapchat, she would pretend to be a 14-year-old girl who was homeschooled. And while she was doing this, she tricked at least 5 boys between 13 and 14 years old into dating her. And with some of these boys, she even went over to their houses and met their families. She even had their families thinking that she was 14. Now, one of these boys who she tricked into dating her actually started dating another girl. These were videos of her sexually assaulting the minor that she was previously dating. And these videos circulated all over Snapchat. The boy told all of this to detectives. Now, aside from what she did, one of the more disturbing things about this case so far is that Alyssa has not accepted any responsibility for what she had done. She's also acting like she doesn't understand why what she did is wrong. On top of that, she's been extremely uncooperative. She actually gave detectives detectives a phone that was not hers when they initially asked her for her phone. She said that her true phone was lost, but nonetheless investigators have been able to pull sexually explicit photos and videos from her iCloud. Arraignment hearing is currently scheduled for April 16th of 2024.
We gotta watch these social medias, man.
What the fuck is going on in here? And this isn't like woods I've never been to. Like, I've been here before. I've been here a lot. I've been here so much, I've actually been to the hospital getting stitches because of some of the adventures that I've had. That's beside the point. These are all different fucking people. And they're all just...
Whoa.
Florida. They're all different.
Does he say been to that forest like many times, but that he just now seen those posters? Did somebody just post them when he was gone, or he just never paid attention to it before? Been in that area that many times, didn't see. He said 25 posters with different people on it. Sounds like that's he's in the wrong part of the woods. Where's this guy? Edit. We gotta call him out, man. Y'all call him out down below, bro, if it's an edit. Because I might miss something too.
Photos before death. Part 1. This may seem like an innocent selfie of a kid with his mom. Unfortunately, that's far from the truth. You see, the two were on board Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. Hours after the photo was uploaded to Facebook, the plane would be shot down above Ukrainian airspace, killing everyone on board. This claustrophobic-inducing photo is of John Edward Jones. In 2009, John was exploring the Nutty Putty cave system when he unfortunately got stuck in an upside-down position. It was pretty much impossible to get him out from that position, so he ended up suffering a very slow death.
The father threw his son in the rails, but what the bear did was amazing. Young couple Alexian and Natasha tied the knot at 20, stoked for their first kid. But childbirth was a nightmare for Nastia, leading to her unfortunate demise in surgery, leaving behind their baby. Post the loss, Alexian felt nothing but disgust for the newborn, diving headfirst into a dark mental hole with booze as his only escape. With Dad dodging his responsibilities, Granny Natasha Ivanova stepped in to fill the void, trying to pull him out of his pit. But her efforts hit the wall as he kept boozing hard. One day, after a heavy drinking spree, he staggered and left the kid on the rails, crashing next to it, passed out. Fortune had it, a big bear swooped in just in time, saving the kid and dropping him off at Granny's. Seemed like the bear's way of saying thanks for a previous favor when Granny saved a cub. The next morning, the sight of the kid lying safe at the doorstep left Granny stunned, but also immensely relieved. Cops gave Alexian a stern warning. One more slip, and he'd kiss his parental rights goodbye. Staring at his mess and a kid he almost lost, Alexian snapped back to reality, swearing off booze, ready to step up as a responsible dad.
Crazy story, you guys believe that?
Who are you? What? What's wrong with you?
This video is so disturbing that a number of people have fell ill after watching it. Proceed with caution.
One here smells great. Which one? Smells like Mother's crazy sister Kate. Oh, you think so? Yeah, I do. It smells so good. She couldn't have been that crazy. I don't think so. Oh, you don't think so, huh? No. Well, she put her poodle one time in a microwave oven to eat it. Yeah, to eat it. Oh no. No, 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 silly. To dry it. But it exploded. And they were both found dead. She must have been out of her head.
Creepy facts about our world you didn't know about. Have you ever been sleeping, and you had a nightmare that you've been falling off of a building or out of the sky, and you woke up kind of flinching a little bit? This is actually called hypnic jerks, and basically what it is, it's your body thinking you're about to die, so it wakes you up.
This might sound insane, but you're literally always 6 minutes away from dying, and every time you take a breath, the clock happens to restart. The ocean is just really a graveyard full of dead bodies and sunken ships, and every time you go visit the beach and take a dip in the water, you're basically swimming in a pool full of dead bodies. People unknowingly swallow about 8 spiders a year. Literally, spiders are crawling inside your mouth and down your esophagus, and you have no idea when or where. Facebook shut down 2 robots named Alice and Bob because they started talking to each other in their own language.
What the hell? You got robots communicating with each other now? You would think that would be national news or something like that, bro. Alice and Bob, what the hell were they talking about that had to be shut down? I'm telling you what, the social media, these things, man, they became getting out of control sometimes. Where's this guy? Edit.
Hey, Apple! What?
If you guys have never heard about this case, then consider yourself lucky because this one is a disturbing one. This is a TikTok slideshow that I was tagged in, which shows this very disturbing looking guy with a very strange facial expression. And shows these 2 girls, and the final slide are burgers. Now this slideshow might not make sense to most people, but it starts with this guy right here, Joe Metheny. Joe Metheny was a very gross and disturbed individual that lived in Baltimore and served burgers at a roadside barbecue stand. In the 1990s, Joe Metheny's girlfriend left him, and this triggered the inner serial killer that was hiding inside of him all along. He claimed that within the 90s, he took the lives of 10 different people, took the meatiest part of them, and then cooked them into his burgers and sold them to unsuspecting consumers at the barbecue stand. This means that without even knowing it, people were getting this very funky tasting meat that they just wrote off as, weird meat, but it was actually people that they were consuming. Joe Metheny has since passed away in prison, but through the entire duration of the rest of his life, he refused to apologize for these actions and expressed absolutely 0 remorse for what he had done. And after hearing this story, it might make you think twice about getting burgers from random roadside barbecue stands.
Videos that cannot be explained. Pilot records passengers walking off a bridge that isn't connected to a plane.
Where the hell were they going? Eerie.
5 things you didn't know about the killer clown, John Wayne Gasey. Some of his victims had been in his basement for so long that their bones had fused together. It took 2 whole years to put together the full skeletons. Some of his 33 victims are still unidentified. It breaks my heart to think that some of their loved ones might think that they ran away or are missing on purpose. Like many serial killers, he suffered a head injury. At 11 years old, he was under a swing set and got hit on the head. It formed a blood clot that wasn't identified until he was 16. Over that 5 years, he suffered blackouts that went away once the blood clot was treated. His mother's underwear kept going missing, and she found out that her young son John had been stealing her underwear and burying it underneath the house. His behavior stopped for a while, but once he turned 15, he started stealing neighborhood girls' underwear off of their clotheslines and burying it underneath the house as well. Given where the majority of his victims were found, it's extremely chilling. He may not have acted alone. In a 1992 interview, he claimed that he had an accomplice. Normally, I'd say this is just a Hail Mary to try to get the blame off him. One of his victims that survived, who was key in getting a conviction for him, his name was Jeff Rignall, but he lived to tell the story. He was trapped in the John Wayne Gasey house and suffered unspeakable things. For whatever reason, he was dumped in Lincoln Park. He said that when he was drifting in and out of consciousness, sometimes it sounded like there was somebody else in John Wayne Gacy's house. He told psychologists that during some of the murders, someone else was there to help him, but this was widely believed to be a symptom of schizophrenia. Thanks for watching, and if you like true crime, follow my account.
Made a video not too long ago talking about how humans might have superpowers, but now there may be a little scientific evidence to back this up. I know you may already know this, but a quantum theory demonstration revealed that just by observing something, it affects reality. For example, if you try to observe an electron, it actually changes the path of the electron. At first it seems small and meaningless, but after a little more research, you'll find out that positive thoughts actually increase plant growth as well. So this is the second instance where a human consciousness can physically affect something outside of his own body. This actually gets much deeper. There was an experiment done by a man named Masaru Emoto where he exposed water samples to the different words, thoughts, and intentions of different people and then photographed the results. He found that the water samples exposed to the intentions of wisdom, truth, love, and peace produced very beautiful crystals, while the samples exposed to the intentions of evil and sickness produced very strange and ugly looking crystals. Now these things may seem small, but just like how we're able to work out our muscles and upgrade to greater weight, is it crazy to say that we could also work out our mind or consciousness and eventually move greater molecules or photons en mass? Who knows, but leave a like and then let me know what you think in the comments.
Hey man, we all about to get superpowers on here? What the hell? That's actually crazy to think about, man. So like I said, you're working on your muscles, you could get strong by working out your mind. Who knows, bro? I could take it to the next level. What the hell? I'm definitely going to have to dive deep into that, bro. Humans with superpowers? I want a video on that? You evolving out here?
This is the most
You never know,
Brazil
man.
cartel execution video explained. The video that I'm about to explain is 6 minutes long, and it might be the most brutal video ever. The video opens up with a brief interrogation of one of the women. In the interrogation, she pledges her allegiance to the cartel, and the video then jump cuts and shows the same woman who at this point is bloody and beaten bad. She begins begging for her life, saying, "You can do whatever you want, just not that," referring to the man pointing the gun at her head. One of the other men then says no more chances, and the man with the gun shoots the poor woman in the head. They then check on her body, and the one man says, "I don't think she's dead," which makes him take out a machete and begin hacking away at her neck. The video then jump cuts again, this time showing the second victim, and this is where the video gets extremely graphic. The men order her to place her hands on a fallen log, which she does, and is then struck in the hand by the machete. They then order her to place her hands back on the log, and they then repeat this process over and over, until the log is completely covered in bloody handprints. She then holds her bloody and mangled hands up to the camera as she tries to hold back tears. The video then jump cuts again, and it shows the same girl sitting in a muddy hole, and the man carrying the machete then takes her hand and strikes her arm numerous times with the machete. He first breaks her bone and then cuts through the flesh, severing her arm. And due to the machete being blunt, it takes several strikes. Surprisingly, the victim doesn't scream, but she rolls around in pain for a few seconds. She then pleads to the killers to leave her alone. The man with the machete then orders her to raise her leg, which she does, and he then hits her in the shin twice, which looks like it breaks the bone. She cries out mercy and says she's about to pass out. The man then orders her to lift her leg again so he could repeat the process. He then says this again, but the victim then says she can't move. And in response, the man with the machete strikes her all over her body, all while she's still pleading with the man. And after several more hits, she says it's good enough, insinuating to kill her and put her out of her misery. After a couple more strikes, the killer breaks the machete, and the video then jump cuts again, and shows the second victim lying on her stomach with the killer pulling her hair to raise her head up. The killer then strikes her in the throat several times with the machete, and instinctively she tries to block the blade with her one remaining hand. The killer continues to hack and slash at the victim's neck as she slips in and out of consciousness, before he finally beheads her. A third victim is shot in the head and beheaded off camera, much like the first victim. The killer then takes all three heads by the hair and holds them up to the camera, and the video then concludes. This video is extremely graphic and terrifying, and whatever you do, please never go seeking this video, because it will definitely scar you for weeks or even forever. This world is completely brutal and
prison, starting with the one that shocked me the most, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. He went to prison for manslaughter. So in 1991, way before The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody aired, Phil killed a 21-year-old girl while drinking and driving. But he was released early and only served 1 year because of the work he did in prison. Next, we got Debbie Ryan, who played Bailey Pickett on The Sweet Life on Deck. When Debbie was 22 years old, she was arrested and charged charged with a DUI after she crashed her car with another person and severely injured them. Okay, this one's crazy. Back in 2018, Adam Hicks, who starred in Zeke and Luther, was arrested after going around pointing guns at people and robbing them with the help of his girlfriend, Danny. He ended up getting only 5 years in prison, and now he's pursuing his music career and he's on TikTok. Now, this one definitely caught me off guard because Mitchell Musso played such an innocent kid on Hannah Montana, but he was arrested for public intoxication on August 26th of this year when he apparently stole a bag of chips from a store, but he denies this ever happened. Mitchell was also arrested back in 2011 when he was 20 years old for a DUI. Let me know which one surprised you the most, because mine was Mr. Mosby.
Yeah, it was Mr. Mosby for me as well. You never would have guessed that.
Do you think ghosts can help solve cold cases? Well, throughout history, there's been reports of ghosts coming back to tell their loved ones who killed them, like the story of Fred Fisher. And if you're interested in these kind of stories, I just did a podcast episode on the most famous one. So in 1826, an Australian man by the name of Fred Fisher disappeared into thin air. But this never sat right with his best friend John, because Fred seemed to have left in the middle of the night and didn't take any of his stuff with him. Fred's neighbor claimed that he had gone back to England and had named him the power of attorney. And then his neighbor starts selling all of Fred's stuff. So John starts thinking that something is not right. So one night, months later, John is walking down the street, he's had a few drinks, and right when he's passing Fred's property, he sees a ghostly figure standing in his yard. It looks exactly like Fred, but he's completely pale with like this dead stare. And the figure just lifts one hand slowly and points past John to a creek that's behind him. So the next day, John goes down to the creek right around where this apparition was telling him to go, and sure enough, he finds Fred's body. Not only did this ghost lead John to Fred's body, but it also led to the arrest of the sketchy neighbor for his murder. This full story and more this week on the pod.
Ghosts coming back and telling their side of the story wasn't in the...
In 1992, the body of Aglina Diaz de Leon was found right here in this church courtyard. My fiance and I host the podcast Murder in America, and we decided to visit this church on a sunny day last month so we could tell Aglina's story to all of you guys. In 1992, Aglina was found right here in the courtyard of the building, nude, and her throat had been slashed after she was strangled. For 10 years after the crime, nobody had a clue who killed Aglina, and it was a national mystery. That is, until one day in 2002, when police finally got a lead through DNA. Witnesses saw a man named Guadalupe Sandoval near the scene of the crime the night that it happened, and DNA linked him 10 years later to the murder. In the meantime, he had married and raised 2 kids. You never know who you're marrying, I guess.
Truly don't, and it sounds like he got away with it too. Sickening.
The Muffin Man is actually a serial killer. You know the Muffin Man nursery rhyme, right? But did you know it was based on a dark, true story? 1 second. Chocolate chip. Tastes like your mama boning. But yeah, the story is darker than you think. Because in the 1800s, there was a man named Frederick Thomas Linwood. And he would wait lurking in alleys, looking for his next victims. And they would always be kids. You see, he would kidnap them and unalive them, luring them in with muffins. I mean, what kid wouldn't want a tasty snack? When the townspeople got word of what was happening, they decided to come together and figure out a way to prevent this, to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane. You're walking past the alleyway, and the Muffin Man gets you. Your fourth act sees this and tries to rescue you. Let me know who it is, and let me know if you think you'd be doomed or not. Anyways, he's one of the first documented serial killers in the world. And everyone still teaches this song to their kids, even children TV shows. And yet nobody knows that...
The Muffin Man. I heard about that because of Shrek, bro. You know, the Muffin Man scene between Gingerbread Man and Lord Farquaad. Classic.
Nobody has been able to explain this creepy viral video. For the past 11 years, a man who runs a TikTok account by the name of Dude, My House is Haunted has been pretty confident that there has been some paranormal activity within his home. He claims that ever since his wife passed away, there have been some strange and unusual things going on. So eventually he decided to leave cameras out and record what was happening and post it onto TikTok, which is the footage that you are about to see. In this video, you can see a chair seemingly moving on its own. It moves somewhat slowly until it suddenly is violently pulled into the corner by the kitchen. A mysterious, shadowy figure can be seen moving behind the chair, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the chair is thrown into the kitchen. Now, of course, we're not really sure what happened in this video, but I'm having a hard time coming up with an explanation for this one.
Or it could just be an edit. Simple as that.
Insanely dark facts and things that have happened at Disney World. When Disney had first opened way back in the 70s, Walt Disney had originally hired spies. He would station them around the park so they could eavesdrop on the guests and get a feel for how they actually liked the experience. It's pretty much common knowledge that Disney does have an underground tunnel system, but did you know that that system runs a full 9 acres under the park, and people have actually gotten lost down there? Roughly 10 or so years ago, there was an incident that was reported near Space Mountain when a guest tried to sneak on a duffel bag. When employees found out and they asked to search it, they found inside a 6-month-old baby. Why this parent was trying to sneak a baby onto a roller coaster, we do not know. In a lesser-known incident that Disney actually covered up pretty well, in 2004, a 38-year-old cast member who was playing Pluto was run over by the Beauty and the Beast float during the opening parade. Although clearly deceased at the scene, Disney refused to declare the death until the body was brought outside of the park.
The things companies do for money, man.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 18. A man from Queens once spent 5 months in jail completely unaware that his bail was just $2. Since spiders molt, when you see what you might think is a dead spider, it could just be that the spider left behind its exoskeleton and is now bigger than before, around with a bunch of poop inside of them. Scientists accidentally killed the world's oldest living animal, which was a clam that lived to be 507 years old. Statistically speaking, at least one person who comments on this video will not be alive tomorrow. The real reason you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough isn't because of getting sick from eating raw eggs. It's because you shouldn't eat raw flour, which contains fecal matter from all the birds flying over the field and pooping on the wheat.
I bet you didn't know that these 3 myths aren't true. So the first one is that if you swallow chewing gum, your stomach will take 7 years to digest it. And that's just not true. And that's totally cap, because if you swallow some gum, it'll only take about 2 to 4 days to pass through your entire system.
Wow.
The second myth is that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. Scientists have not yet discovered a correlation between cracking your knuckles and arthritis. However, over time it can lessen your grip strength. And at number 3, we have the myth that sugar makes kids hyper. I totally thought this one was true, but scientists say that it's completely false. While it has been proven that sugar can change your mood and make you feel more active, there's no real connection between kids being hyper and the consumption of sugar.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna have to call cap on that last one, bro. Because if you get some kids some sugar, bro, they'll be freaking hyper, man, running all around the place, man. I don't believe that last one. Like I said, when we watch these videos together with you guys, we always gotta do our own research. Where he at? The middle of the night. Could not be me.
AC is not working. Look at everyone. So many people, they are using these magazines. AC is not working at all. And as usual, your TV screens are also not working. Neither this button for calling the cabin crew. Nothing is working. Nothing. Not even the light is working. See. This is what you are providing. And as usual, that is why Air India is considered as one of the worst airlines in the world.
We all know how that ended.
These are facts that make death even scarier. Up first, since the first ever human being, about 108 billion people have died. If you just stop and think about that for a second, it's actually impossible to wrap your head around. Every single human being you've ever read about has lived on this planet and died. Next up, we've all heard the phrase, he died of old age. But that is a complete myth. You don't actually die from old age, but instead all of the sicknesses and diseases that come with getting old. Getting old is actually awful, and it's probably one of the worst things about being a human. Finally, by the time you finish this video, 150 to 200 people will have died. People die every second of the day, which should make you stop and appreciate your life right now, because it could be gone within seconds.
You're spitting at the end, man. We gotta appreciate the time we have now.
Can you imagine living with someone that you know is trying to end your life? This hidden camera captures a moment this woman puts bleach inside her husband's coffee maker multiple times a day. This is Robbie Johnson, and he began setting up cameras all around his house when he started to notice that his coffee was tasting a little off. He wasn't really expecting to catch anything, but when he looked back at the footage, he was shocked. His wife Melody is seen pouring a substance inside his coffee maker every single day before he brewed the coffee. Robbie got testing strips, and each time it tested positive for chlorine. At this time, Robbie and Melody were in the process of a divorce, but they were still living together. Robbie pretended to drink his coffee every morning and continued to gather evidence so that he can go to police. But when he showed police all this footage, they said that they couldn't see exactly what Melody was pouring into the coffee maker, so he couldn't prove it. So Robbie had to set up even more cameras around the house with different angles so that it can prove that Melody was in fact poisoning him. Melody was charged with attempted murder, and I bet this guy will never let anyone else make him a coffee again.
Damn right. Now, after seeing that.
Today I'm going to be asking my haunted doll about S-walkers. I won't say their name because people don't like saying their name. So if you don't know what an S-walker is, basically it's this creature that's been seen throughout history. A lot of Native American culture believes in these walkers and believe that they are demonic entities that kind of pose themselves as animals or different types of species. So I'm going to ask my haunted doll what she thinks of them, if she believes in them. The link to the Spirit Box app I use is in my bio. Lola, do you believe in S-walkers? Yes, she does. Have you ever come across one before? Yes. That was a really quick yeah. Have you ever been attacked by an S-walker? No, that's good. They're dangerous. Are they dangerous to be around? Yes. I feel her getting very anxious about it. I think that's confirmation that she's anxious. Lola, do you think any of our followers have ever had an experience with S-walkers? Yeah, she thinks that maybe some of you have. Will you keep our followers safe from these creatures? Yes, she will. She'll always keep you guys safe. She'll do the best she can.
I don't know, what was that device just twisting how she communicated with that dog?
What's a missing persons case that still keeps you up at night? I always think about the disappearance of Nicholas Downey and how he completely disappeared after his rental car was found abandoned. So this is 37-year-old Nicholas Downey, and he was last seen on February 27th, 2023 in Bristol, Florida. At the time he was working in Bradenton, but he'd taken a week off to go and visit his wife Holly, who was staying at a rehabilitation center in Mississippi. For the trip, Nicholas rented a Tesla through the Turo app. He was on his way back home when on February 26th, he pulled off of Interstate 10 to recharge the Tesla behind a McDonald's in Marianna, Florida. Security footage shows that someone exited the vehicle to charge it, but the footage was too blurry to know if it was actually Nicholas getting out of the car. The person then gets back into the car before pulling on a State Road 71 heading south instead of getting back on the interstate. While this was happening, the car's owner was watching its progress on the Turo app and saw the direction it was heading. This worried the owner because the car wasn't heading back to Tampa as planned, and he already had the car scheduled to be rented out by another customer the following day. So he sent Nicholas a text message to make sure that he was okay, which would have showed up on the car's dashboard, but he never got a response back. Nicholas was scheduled to go back to work the morning of February 27th, but he never showed up. Instead, that morning, the Tesla he was renting was found abandoned in Liberty County, parked between Turkey Creek and Prison Road. This area is, I guess, known as the Stoke site. But Nicholas was nowhere to be found. The car only had a little bit of charge left and the windshield was damaged. Authorities found that the car at some point had driven under a cable, and this was confirmed when they found the cable in question about 1.5 miles away with the car's white paint on it. The police contacted the vehicle's owner, who was then able to remotely unlock it. And inside the car, police found 2 phones, one belonging to Nicholas and one belonging to his wife, who wasn't allowed to have a personal phone at the rehab center. Also inside the car was a change of clothes, a McDonald's receipt, a drone that Nicholas used for work, and an unknown substance. Authorities searched the area surrounding the car by land and air, and they even brought in tracking dogs, but no trace of Nicholas has ever been found. According to a sheriff that was on the scene, he said that there were hardly any footprints surrounding the car, and that something isn't adding up. His family didn't even know about his disappearance until a few days later on March 3rd when his wife was allowed to call him, but a deputy answered instead. The car rental was without contact and done through the Turo app, so the owner of the car never actually met Nicholas. And according to Nicholas's mom, she last spoke to him around 8:30 the night he went missing, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She mentioned that Nicholas did struggle with alcohol and drugs in the past, but he's never just not reached out. They talk almost every day, so it's not like him to just disappear. It's now been a year and Nicholas is still missing. If you have any information about his disappearance at all, please contact the number on the screen.
He just vanished. That was a weird story. Through that Turo app, that's when they be using to rent cars, right? Luxury cars. I've heard about that.
This might be the scariest thing that ever happened to America. We all know that America had a lot of scary things happen to it. But this has to be the scariest thing ever. On August 29th, 1968, every single TV in America shut down. But a demonic whispering was coming from every TV in America. Many people believe that it was the devil trying to get across some message. But nobody really understood it. This lasted for about 25 seconds. Then all the TVs came back on. To this day, nobody knows what caused it or why it happened, but everybody believes it was the works of the devil.
Glad I wasn't around during that.
December 29th, 1986, a California Highway Patrol officer named Craig Pyre drove his cruiser down Interstate 15 in San Diego, California. With him was an NBC News reporter filming a segment about highway travel safety that was set to air later that night. At around 4 a.m. the previous morning, a 20-year-old college student named Kara Knott had been found strangled to death in a creek right near the Mercy Road exit. And so as Officer Pyre passed by the Mercy Road exit and continued down Interstate 15, as they filmed, he began talking about the basics of highway travel safety.
Anything could happen. Being a female, you could be raped, robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed.
As this particular segment was filmed, Officer Pyre was looking ahead and he noticed there was a car pulled over on the shoulder of the highway with its hazards on. So he turned to the news crew and basically said, look, here's a chance for us to actually show what to do in case your car breaks down on the highway. Officer Pyre walked over to the passenger side door of this car and asked him to explain what happened to your car. The driver said he had run out of gas and then gotten stranded on the side of the road. And then he had left his car and walked to a gas station to get a gas can. And all the way back, he put the gas into his car, but his car still wouldn't start. This driver is doing basically exactly what he shouldn't be doing, according to the safety tips Officer Pyre had given. And so on camera, he basically says to this guy, do you understand how dangerous it is to have left your car like that and walked alone on this highway? And the driver just kind of looked at him and shrugged like, yeah, I guess so. After that, Officer Pyre and the news crew wrapped up filming. They told him what time to expect his segment to air on NBC that night. And when Officer Pyre's actual segment aired on TV, there were a few people, when they watched this clip, that noticed something very specific. And within an hour of this clip airing on TV, those few people were calling the police in droves to tell them, we know what happened to Kara Knott. It would turn out all the clues the police needed to solve the Kara Knott murder case were right there in that 1.5 minute long video. Because what happened to Kara had almost happened to over 24 other women in San Diego. The other 24 women who encountered the same person, the killer. They were terrorized and tortured and held hostage for a couple of hours, but eventually were let go. But Kara wasn't. During her encounter, at some point, the killer clubbed her over the head and then strangled her to death with a rope. Now, the killer at first had gotten away with this until they were featured on that 1.5 minute long video. And some of those women who had survived their attack, they're watching the segment and suddenly their attacker is on TV. And so put that all together and they thought, boom, that's the person who killed Kara Knott. And sure enough, the police would follow up on these tips and they would confirm that the man in the video was Kara's killer. And Kara's killer was none other than Officer Craig Pyre. Officer Pyre was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.
I was the officer. That was a plot twist. You gave him safety tips, but he was doing those things himself.
What did Buzz Aldrin see in Antarctica? Let's rewind. So in 2016, a satellite got an image of what experts believed to be a huge pyramid in Antarctica. Now, if this was in fact a pyramid, it would be the largest pyramid ever found on Earth. Bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was about 230 meters wide. This pyramid in Antarctica would be 2,000 meters wide. Now, apparently in 2016, Buzz Aldrin and a crew got together and went to Antarctica to explore and check out this colossal pyramid. They wanted to see it for themselves. But this is where it gets crazy. While on the expedition, Buzz Aldrin suffered a heart attack. He was hospitalized for days. But when he fully recovered and left the hospital, he tweeted something strange, but then quickly deleted it. It said, "We are all in danger. It is evil itself." Now, what the hell he talking about? Cause I don't want to find out. Someone close to Buzz said they had a talk with him and he said this.
Buzz did say one thing. He just said, we thought out things we shouldn't. And I went, what do you mean by that?
Come on, man. What did they find? Was it aliens, a Nephilim giant, other humans? If it is a pyramid, who built it? And what was living in it?
You got contact with aliens, bro?
Yo, what's up? These are Kids That Killed, Part 5. Today on our list, Aaron Campbell. On July 2nd, 2018, 6-year-old Alicia McPhail was nowhere to be found throughout her house. Her parents searched her room, the living room, and every other part of the house, but she could not be found. But the crazy thing was her bicycle was still parked out on the curb, so she couldn't have gone far. I mean, she was only 6 years old and didn't have a habit of running away, so her parents began to worry. But it turns out that this 16-year-old psychopath Aaron Campbell had actually contacted Alicia's dad the night before trying to buy some drugs. And when he went to pick him up and Alicia's dad wouldn't answer, he snuck inside the home, grabbed Alicia while she was sleeping, and kidnapped her. Alicia then woke up while she was being carried around by her kidnapper, and he told her that she had nothing to worry about and that he was a friend of her father's and he was going to get her home safely. But that was far from the truth. It'd be shortly after the young girl woke up that the 16-year-old would move on to brutally beat this young 3-foot-tall 6-year-old girl. It wouldn't be until the morning after this incident where the parents and neighbors would have a search party going out to look for the young girl, and they would find her dumped in a woodland area about 15 minutes away from their home with over 117 different injuries on her body. It was said that they found trace evidence of semen on this girl's body, and it was even claimed by forensics that she was beaten long after she had already died. It was later found out by the police during an investigation that Aaron Campbell was the one who committed these horrific acts on this young girl, and at the age of 20, when he was in prison already, he actually got beat and his front tooth went through the top of his lip. Sorry, Aaron, but you got what was coming to you.
This family was last seen in 2022, but have never been seen since. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of the Bernstein family. Viewer discretion is advised. Pictured here in the middle is 33-year-old mother Abigail Bernstein. Pictured here with her two sons, 11-year-old Kowakai Bernstein and 8-year-old Kush Bernstein. So this case originates on the island of Oahu, specifically in Honolulu. Abigail had allegedly met a man online and they planned to take a year-long trip, a boat trip. In October of 2022, Abigail and her two children were last seen here at the Alawai Boat Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii. The identity of the man that she met and was going on this trip with, I don't think has been made public. I can't, even the FBI, website doesn't have any information on him. But what the FBI has stated is that the boat returned in 2023. I'm assuming that means with the man, but again, I'm not 100% sure. What is sure, however, is that Abigail and her two sons were not on that boat. This entire family has not been seen since they left that boat dock in 2022. Once they were reported missing, the FBI becomes involved, and the FBI would find out that Abigail and her two kids were living a very nomadic lifestyle. They completely cut off, or Abigail did, cut off all communications with her family. So it was literally just her and the two kids. Her two sons were not enrolled in school at the time of their disappearance. Neither of the two kids, or Abigail especially, had a cell phone. They cut off their cell phone before they left. And again, I have to assume that this man they went with was questioned and talked to. I don't know what, if they did, I don't know what he said. It's very strange because the FBI is saying that they don't have any evidence of foul play. However, they cannot rule foul play out. They just don't have proof of it. And most importantly, they don't have this entire family. Where did they go? Some believe that they, could have just started a new life somewhere on another island. Abigail had connections not only to Oahu, but also on the Big Island. She also had connections to people in Naples, Florida, Petoskey, Michigan, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I can only assume that they have investigated those angles as well. The hope is that they are just living off the grid somewhere. And if it was just Abigail, they would probably not be pushing this as hard because, she's a 33-plus-year-old adult. But there are 2 children involved here, and there is concern for their well-being, not necessarily because of Abigail, just because nobody knows where they are or what they're doing, but somebody out there has to have seen them. And as badly as Abigail may not want to be found, people just need to know where these kids are at. Someone somewhere out there knows the truth, and perhaps that someone is you. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Abigail Bernstein or her 2 sons, please contact the Honolulu, Hawaii FBI office at 808-673-2719.
She sound like she just vanished. She trying to live off the
She
grid.
ate a poisonous cake that was left at her doorstep. 17-year-old Ana Neves was from Brazil, and she was described as a quiet girl who had a few close friends. Secretly, one of Anna's best friends was actually jealous of her, and she was planning something sinister. On May 30th of 2025, a guy delivered a package with a cake inside to Anna's home. Anna wasn't home at the time, so her sister took in the package. Anna arrived home later that evening around 6 p.m. and her sister was so excited to show her this cake because it had a note that said, "A treat for the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." Anna was flattered because she believed this was from a secret admirer, and as she was eating this cake, she had no idea that that was a big mistake. Less than an hour after eating that cake, she started to vomit violently and have severe diarrhea. The following day, her symptoms got worse and her father rushed her to the hospital. Medical staff told her that she had food poisoning, so she was given medicine and hooked up to an IV drip, and slowly she started to get better. Soon she was discharged and sent home because it seemed like she was back to normal. But later that day, once she was home, she fell on her bathroom floor and suffered a cardiac arrest. Once emergency services arrived to her home, she had passed away. Anna's family was trying to figure out how this could have even happened to her, and that's when Anna's sister remembered that there was a strange guy who had dropped off this delivery. Her family contacted the police, and they were able to determine that this cake was bought at a local pastry shop named Menina Trufa. The owner of the shop spoke with police, and she stated that an order was made for this cake and that an unknown delivery guy from an app had picked it up and delivered it. Police tracked down the guy who delivered this cake, and he was able to get the address of the person who ordered this cake, and it ended up being Anna's best friend. That friend was brought in for questioning, and at first she denied everything and stated that she had nothing to do with her friend's death, but after hours of questioning with the police, she admitted to everything and stated that she had laced the cake with arsenic that she had bought online for $11.50. She stated that she only meant to scare Anna and didn't mean to harm her at all. She ended up stating that she did this to someone else by sending them a poisonous cake as well because 2 of her boyfriends left her for this girl. This other victim became extremely ill, but fortunately she survived. This friend was sent to a young offenders institution, and her identity is currently being hidden, and there is no updates on any kind of sentencing.
Sometimes, man, your friends aren't your friends. Sad fact. She was jealous of her friend, so she sent her that cake. Jealous, she'll drive you to do some.
This is a
dark
true
things.
horrifying story of Hamdan School in Uganda. This school is an Islamic boarding school for girls. It was donated by one of the royal family members of Dubai 22 years ago. This story was submitted by Afra. An Arabic girl back in 2009 was a student at this high school. She knew that the school was haunted and that there was a graveyard right behind the school. And she heard rumors of many incidents where girls were possessed by jinns. But everything else about the school seems fine, because it's one of the most successful Islamic boarding schools in that region. But that does not deny the fact that jinns may live inside the school. Afra experienced something, and being in her 30s today, this one incident will always haunt her. Afra had a mutual friend that was a student in that same school. She was regularly possessed by one jinn. Out of all the religious students, she was one of the very few that didn't really care about the Islamic education. She always used to party, drink, hangs out with guys, and the jinn that used to possess her was surprisingly a Muslim. He was just furious that she used to disobey her family and her religion. They brought her to one of the halls in the school and they started a ruqya session. Afra was there witnessing the whole thing. After many attempts of trying to make this jinn speak, he finally responded. I am possessing this girl because she disobeys. I will not leave until she changes. They were all shocked and they proceed with the recitation. The moment they stop, just for a few seconds, the possessed girl stares at Afra. Who is this girl? Why is she very quiet? She is very pretty, very nice, but I cannot go near her. Afra froze in her place. She felt numb all around and she was not able to move a single muscle. The Imam was intrigued, so he asks the jinn, why can't you go near her? What is stopping you? It was a back and forth questioning. The jinn kept saying, I can't. Why can't you? Until it responded. There is someone in front of her with light. What does that mean? They ask. There is someone in front of her with light. I can't go near her. They couldn't interpret what this was exactly. It could have been the veil of light from the Adhkar. But regardless, Afra will never forget the demon's eyes staring deep into her soul, wanting to possess her.
Man, got schools in front of freaking graveyards, houses in front of graveyards. That just seemed like that's just bad energy, man. That'll try to mix with you. Stay away from that. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.